All right, big 49ers quarterback update here from Dolores Park. We had a nice sandwich from Reyes. And it indeed was Reyes, the sandwich of the day here as we get into Brock Purdy, Brandon Aiyuk, Trent Williams, and Dominick Puni update. Look at that thing on the Dutch Crunch. Turkey, bacon, really good garlic aioli. It was quality stuff. It's at 19th Street and Valencia. You can just cross over to Dolores Park. Look, they've got a Giants themed menu. The Buster Posey and the Tim Lincecum, the Freak, number 55. And look who's in town enjoying a Reyes sandwich. There it is on the Dutch Crunch. Really worth it. All right, time for our 49ers update. This is officially a lunch with Lombardi. We're going to go through everything here, including a new Brandon Aiyuk piece of information. This comes from Albert Breer, who wrote that Brandon Aiyuk was pushed back to the table with the 49ers after the Steelers' long-term offer to him was less than ideal. Less than $28 million per year. Now, I know I've talked so much about how the guarantees are more important. And when we're talking the rumor mill and we hear the average per year, it's really surface level stuff. So it's hard to get deeper into what these offers actually mean and how strong they are. But at the very least, we do get a rudimentary level idea of where teams are. So, for example, the New England Patriots were rumored to have offered Brandon Aiyuk a $32 million per year deal. So a very good chance that was a better contract than the one Pittsburgh offered him, since according to Albert Breer, that was worth less than $28 million per year. So when that came through, Brandon Aiyuk was like, I don't know about Pittsburgh. It pushed him to start negotiating again with the 49ers. Long story short, the more that comes out, and I think that John Chapman just posted this on Twitter. Shout out to John Chapman. Cool guy. Moved back to the Bay Area, or moved to the Bay Area not that long ago. I think he lives somewhere on the East Bay, but he was living down in Southern California. He runs a good page. You should go check out John Chapman's page. Tell him that I sent you. I saw him at training camp, actually, sitting up at the top of the bleachers. But he had the astute observation of, the more that comes out in this Brandon Aiyuk situation, the better the 49ers look. It seems that they're handling it okay. And I just tweeted back at him. I got to find this. I had my own tweet from back in the day at John Chapman, back in the day being 13 days ago. But I think it's one of those evergreen tweets. John said, the more that comes out, it seems the 49ers have handled this situation better than most thought. And so then I shared with John the circle of life on 49ers social media. You go from new information to incorrect interpretations to hysterical overreactions to a settle down period to a period where rational takes enjoy more limelight, and then you go back to new information. It's like a circle of life. So people get hysterical. People want to say that the team's doing everything wrong or this player's doing everything wrong. And then, usually you're dealing with somebody who's proven to be a rational actor here. The John Lynch, Shanahan 49ers have built up the best roster in football, so obviously they're doing something right. When you're dealing with a rational actor, you realize after emotions settle down that they're probably in a rational headspace, that you can calm down and have measured takes about what the team is doing. Anyway, I think that's where we're at in the Brandon Aiyuk situation. It looks like the 49ers have successfully, or we'll see if it's successful, but it appears to be on a successful track. It appears that they have used the larger market as a way to further their negotiations with Brandon Aiyuk, which had stalled. You see a similar thing happen when a player has the exclusive rights franchise tag slapped on him. He can negotiate with other teams, or it's like a restricted free agency tag as well. Same kind of thing. But even though he can negotiate with other teams, the original team has the ability to match offers that come from elsewhere. The 49ers actually tried to pry Brock Wright, the tight end, away from the Detroit Lions this year, restricted free agent. And they offered him a deal worth $12 million, I believe, over 4 years. And then the Lions just matched that deal. So through restricted free agency, the Lions and Brock Wright were able to explore his worth. They're able to get some contract parameters, and then the Lions literally signed right to the deal that the 49ers offered him. I don't think that exact thing is going to happen with Brandon Aiyuk, but by floating Brandon Aiyuk out there in these trade talks, the 49ers have maybe reined in Brandon Ayuk's value a little bit. As you could see, the Steelers were only willing to offer something that was a little less than $28 million per year. The Patriots were willing to offer more, but Brandon Aiyuk didn't want to go there. And that underscores the big truth, the fundamental overarching truth in every single contract situation involving a star player and a potential decision to go elsewhere. Good teams have less money to spend than bad teams. We've seen this play out over the course of NFL history over and over and over again. But in a salary capped league, a good team has more good players, which means it's spending more money, which means they have less to spend on the good players, whereas bad teams have more to spend on players. So then the players in question, in this case it's Brandon Aiyuk, have a choice to make. Do they want to play for a good team at a slight discount or for a bad team for more money? And I think that Brandon Ayuk's preference is the former, not the latter. Otherwise, he would have just said, okay, fine, trade me to New England, trade me to Cleveland. We don't know what Cleveland's monetary offer was, but we do know that their trade compensation to the 49ers is something the 49ers wouldn't have minded. Amari Cooper, a 2 and a 5. Anyway, that's the latest on Brandon Aiyuk. The rest of this, supposedly they're close. They're closer than they have been, but obviously pen has not yet been put to paper. Brandon Aiyuk, part of this update is over. Here's the Brock Purdy part of it. He will play on Friday. The likely schedule for the 49ers this week is practice on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, and Wednesday in Santa Clara. Then Thursday is off, at least for us, from practicing, I would guess, because that's the day before the game, and the team is going to travel on Thursday to Las Vegas. I think game time is at 7 p.m. I'm not going to fly out to Vegas until Friday. I think I'm on a 1 p.m. flight. So see you there. See you in Terminal 3 at SFO, or maybe we're flying out of Terminal 2. I don't know. United's taken over 2/3 of that airport, 3/4 of that airport, if you include the international terminal. So whichever gate we fly out of, see you on Friday. And then Brock Purdy will also play. Hey, maybe a lot of you aren't even going to the game at Allegiant Stadium. You don't want to go back to the scene of the crime, the Super Bowl. 49ers also lost a preseason game at Allegiant Stadium last year, 34-7 to the Raiders. That was the old Trey Lance game. That was really the end for Trey Lance. I know he played the following week. I think, didn't they play the Broncos in the preseason? But even though he did suit up later on that preseason, I think his fate with the 49ers was sealed with that poor performance against the Raiders. And then they obviously traded him after Sam Darnold officially beat him out for QB2. So we're going to see Purdy on Friday. Purdy obviously wants to see a little bit more of a rhythm. Didn't get into one yesterday. There were a multitude of factors for that. He had one completed first down pass to Braden Willis, and then it went south from there. The only 49ers offensive lineman to give up more than one pressure in the game against the Saints was the left tackle, Jalen Moore. He gave up 3 pressures, including one. They ran that stunt, New Orleans did, early on. I don't think Nick Zakelj did a particularly good job blocking the stunt either. Chase Young was actually part of it, former 49er, coming over from the end spot. But it seemed like Zakelj wasn't able to adapt at all to the fact that Colton McKivitz, this was Jalen Moore, sorry. Jalen Moore on the left side didn't block anybody. So it ended up just being a big failure by the left side of the offensive line. And there was pressure and there was a hit against Brock Purdy. And then after that, the performance went south for Purdy. So he wasn't able to establish a rhythm. The line in front of him, obviously, especially because of Jalen Moore on that left side, did not perform well. And then it just didn't seem that his receivers were getting any separation. I thought that there might be a little bit of an angle on the naked bootleg that they ran for Brock Purdy to the near side where Chase Young got the pressure again. And then Purdy tried to change direction and threw back across the field. It was almost an interception. I thought that he might have had something on the side to which the play was originally designed to go, but it's a lot easier for me to say that when I'm sitting up in the press box and I could clearly see from the bird's eye the way the guys are moving. When Chase Young is in your face with his arms raised up, it's a lot harder to see over him. So that's decision that Brock Purdy had to make to reverse course and throw back across the field. Either way, it doesn't matter. It was the preseason. The reason Purdy was in there was to knock off some rust and just get a feel for how things move at game speed. That's all you really want. He even said that he wanted to get hit a couple times because you don't get hit in practice as a quarterback. He hadn't gotten hit since the Super Bowl, so it was important for him to just get those competitive juices flowing. You do like to build a little bit of confidence with some rhythm, and the 49ers will try to do that against the Raiders on Friday at Allegiant Stadium, where Brock Purdy will play. The question is he going to have some more weapons? Is somebody like Deebo Samuel going to get a few snaps? Will we see somebody like George Kittle in this game? I highly doubt that we'll see Brandon Aiyuk. Even if he signs a new contract before then, they're not going to put him out there with just a couple days of practice. So we'll see if the 49ers do use some of their A-list weapons that have been on the shelf. Christian McCaffrey might return to practice this week as well, but they've already essentially said that he's not going to play in the preseason. Nothing to worry about regarding Brock Purdy, though. He was able to knock off some of that rust yesterday, and they'll see if they can establish a little bit more of a rhythm with him on Friday. Speaking of that, while we're on Purdy and while we're talking about Jalen Moore, we can talk about a couple 49ers offensive linemen. Update on the Trent Williams front is that it's all quiet on the Trent Williams front, and that's not necessarily what a lot of you want to hear. I would really start looking for some movement to happen this week, and if it doesn't, well, then you could start sounding some, I won't say alarm bells, but you could start being a little bit more concerned. Again, Trent is a guy who does not need a long time to prepare for a regular season, but I think everybody needs some time to build a callus and prepare for the regular season. And we saw this issue with Nick Bosa last year. It was like, okay, yeah, he didn't need as much time as other 49ers defensive linemen, but it'd be better for him to show up 2 weeks before the start of the regular season than 4 days before the start of the regular season. And it indeed did wear off on Nick Bosa and the 49ers in a negative way, the fact that the holdout lasted so long. So, as I said, Jalen Moore was the worst 49ers offensive lineman in pass protection yesterday, and now all eyes turn to when can the 49ers get Trent Williams back, because that would really help the left side of that offensive line. They already have enjoyed an improvement on the right side of the offensive line. Dominick Puni has truly changed the equation for the 49ers at that right guard position. And here is the short part of the equation last year. This is pass block grade on the x-axis and quarterback efficiency on the y-axis. You can see how much of an outlier Brock Purdy was last year. So good, most efficient quarterback in the league. But his dot is way over on the left side, and that's not a reflection on Purdy. That's a reflection on the 49ers pass protection. It was below average last season. And it wasn't below average because of Trent Williams. He was obviously really good. It was below average because of the other 4 spots, notably the right side of the offensive line. Right guard with Burford and Feliciano, and right tackle with Colton McKivitz really struggled for the 49ers in 2023. So Dominick Puni has now shown up for San Francisco, and he's given up only 1 pressure over 44 snaps. He's showing high IQ. He's looking for guys to block after he finishes off his initial assignment. He's peeling back around. You saw it on that play where he helped out the right tackle. And I do have to say that I think that Dominick Puni can really help out somebody like Colton McKivitz with how good of a pass protector he is. McKivitz last year at right tackle in his first year starting at the position was paired with either Spencer Burford or John Feliciano, both of whom were below average pass protectors at that right guard position. Dominick Puni didn't give up a single sack over 2 seasons at Kansas. This is the article that I wrote about Dominick Puni talking to Lance Leipold, Kansas's coach. Didn't give up a single sack there and has only given up that 1 pressure, and it looks like he's already firmly ready to start at this level based on what we've seen so far. Yesterday, he was even executing on some of those reach blocks in the run game. So if he could lock down right guard at an efficiency pass blocking wise that is better than what Burford and John Feliciano did at right guard last year, which to be is not that high of a bar. Both of those guys were firmly below average. Well, that's step one and really, really helping Brock Purdy, because it can also improve what Colton McKivitz does at right tackle. You pair a right tackle who's struggling with a better right guard, all of a sudden you're in business if you are the 49ers. Now, center also needs to be taken care of. And I think center has been a point of concern ever since last year, where Jake Brendel regressed over the good season that he had in 2022. So center is something that I'm going to be watching just in case John Feliciano is free to rove positions, just in case that he does get healthy in time to give the 49ers some quality starter level snaps. He can maybe push Jake Brendel in the middle of the formation. But check out this article on Dominick Puni. This is back from June. I think I probably shared it a couple months ago, where I talked to Kansas's coach, Lance Leipold. And it ties into Brock Purdy, because you could see the headline here: how the 49ers Dominick Puni fits the underdog story mold of new teammate Brock Purdy. Leipold, Big 12 coach, coached at Kansas, faced Brock Purdy. Actually, the Iowa State just destroyed Kansas in the game. Well, it was Leipold's first year. It was before Dominick Puni showed up. So he knows very well that Brock Purdy rose from the Big 12, where he played really good football, but obviously was an underdog at the NFL level before he took the 49ers in the league by storm. Leipold drew a very, very neat connection between Purdy and Dominick Puni, two players that he's really familiar with. And the connection now is that Dominick Puni can really help Brock Purdy. You look at this right here. If that pass protection gets any better, 49ers offense can get even more efficient, and that would be tremendously exciting for the football team. So that's our rundown right now. We got a little bit more to go, but I'll go through it for those of you just joining. Pittsburgh's offer pushed Brandon Aiyuk back to the negotiating table, the 49ers. Purdy's going to play Friday. Puni's going to be in front of him. That helps. And then all remains quiet on the Trent Williams front. That could also help the San Francisco 49ers. Let's move it to a Q&A on this beautiful Monday. It's gorgeous out in the city. I know those of you that saw the start of the show, you saw Reyes, you saw the sandwich. I mean, we had some great ability at sandwich shots. I mean, I'll get it back here. On a nice sunny day in San Francisco, sunny Monday, there are people just lounging around the park. Not sure what they're doing for work, but work was not being done today. It is being done right now by us, but at lunch we were doing some work on the sandwich. There you can see how nice it was at Dolores Park. So the sandwich of the day is from Reyes. I am ready to answer your questions. There you can see it. The Freak and Buster Posey, the two sandwiches from Reyes. Good stuff. Dutch Crunch for the win. Ready for your questions. Good question, Nigel. What can we expect to see on Friday? Pearsall and Guerendo playing? The 49ers hope so. They hope to get both Rookie and Isaac Guerendo out there. You want to give them some game action before the roster cut down, so you can make a better decision about how you want to formulate this 53-man roster. So just some action would be helpful. Obviously, both of these guys are going to stay in the building. They're both higher draft picks, and both of them had their first training camps rather derailed by some of these injuries, although Pearsall's made some plays. It was Guerendo who got hurt on the first or second day. We haven't heard from him since due to the hamstring. But Pearsall caught that deep pass from Brock Purdy, I think that's probably 2 weeks ago at this point. I think he's going to be a good player. He's a smooth operator, smooth mover. I've seen him beat some press man coverage already at practice. We saw him pancake a 49ers staffer and assistant when they were running some of those drills early on. I think it's been our most watched video so far of 49ers training camp has been this short that Mike cut up and put up there. I got the video. Mike cut it up and put it up there. Ricky Pearsall inadvertently just plowing over a 49ers staffer during one of those warm-up drills. Now the 49ers want to see him do the same thing once he's healthy against some actual NFL players. Like Dave says, I want to see him do it in a game. I think that you're talking about Ricky Pearsall. So maybe we see him on Friday for San Francisco. Mike is starting to ask us some good questions regarding what the 49ers depth chart might look like week one. Can Burford play left guard if Banks is out week one? Really interesting question. You know, they say that flip-flopping sides on the line is tough. Joe Staley always said, I'm never going to play right tackle. I'm a left tackle. I'm never going to play right tackle. It's like a mirror image kind of thing. So it's like you got to be ambidextrous, right? So you have to, it's like starting to use your left hand to do things instead of your right hand or vice versa if you're used to one or the other. So I don't think it'd be easy. But you know what? Spencer Burford did play left tackle in college for UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio. And I think that experience for Spencer Burford of playing on the left side would be really beneficial for him because he probably has the muscle memory of being on the left side of the line. So I do think that could be a possibility. John Feliciano played some left guard last year, filling in for Aaron Banks. So that'd be a possibility too, but you got to make sure that his knee is feeling all right because he's been out of practice already. Yeah, Puni has done it seamlessly. Dominick Puni is a very versatile player. He's got experience playing at all 5 offensive line spots, including center. Took some Senior Bowl snaps at center. Took some snaps at center in the spring game for Kansas. Actually, Lance Leipold talked about that in our interview with Dominick Puni. So that's, again, in the description. Mike put it there. You can go ahead and check it out. Here's a quick little look at the piece. No, that's a look at the sandwich, actually. The look at the pieces right there. Dominick Puni. Mike's got more thoughts. He thinks that left guard will be a position battle between Burford and Kingston in 2025. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be, I don't think it's likely that the 49ers can bring back Aaron Banks. Hey, the guard market has overheated. I mean, the Rams were paying close to $15-16 million a year for 2 average guards. We saw a guard signed for $20 million plus this season. Robert Hunt, right? We probably will see Banks sign for a wild amount of money just because he's been part of the 49ers. I think that he's been quick off the ball and a decent run blocker, but the pass protection has definitely left something to be desired. I think he'll price himself out of the 49ers range. They only try to re-sign those A-listers for top money. They can't go for these B-listers at overinflated prices, or else that will scuttle how they're trying to build this team under the salary cap. So I think that they've got to replenish that left guard position through the draft. And somebody like Jared Kingston, by the way, is only allowed, 1 pressure and I think 61 or 62 pass blocking snaps so far. He could be competing for that spot in 2025. Burford can be competing for it. I think Puni's going to be on the right side, and we'll see if Puni can help out McKivitz at that right tackle spot. What I think is the hold up with Trent Williams. Is he asking for crazy money? Here's if it doesn't get done this week, that I do think that he's got really, really big contract demands on top of the guaranteed money. I think he probably just wants to be the number 1 paid tackle again. Keyword, if it doesn't get done this week. I think there's a good chance it gets done this week. But if it doesn't get done this week, then yeah, the demands of Trent Williams are potentially stretching the 49ers thin. And if that's the case, then obviously they've got to look out for themselves. But the problem is sometimes looking out for yourself means paying the guy because he's got so much leverage. Williams, if he does have those huge demands, he can technically threaten to miss week 1 and / miss week 1. And the New York Jets have one of the better defensive fronts in all football. And that could be big trouble for the 49ers. So Williams is in a nice spot of leverage. He could also be pulling a Michael Strahan, who later in his career just said, I'll show up for week 1. I don't want to do this training camp stuff anymore. Trent Williams is good enough to be able to get away with doing that. So why don't we just wait and see as this develops moving forward. Mike says that he would love to see if Puni can play right tackle. I think he can play every position. Guy looks like the real deal. Really, really talented player for the 49ers. All right, this has been good. Sandwich of the day is Reyes. This has been your update on Puni, Aiyuk, Williams, Purdy. Hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you all. We will see you soon.